Perhaps you've heard of the research on water from Dr. Masaru Emoto. In his New York Times bestseller, The Hidden Messages in Water, he reported how our thoughts, words, and feelings change the structure of water. If you're not familiar with his work, it's beautiful and inspiring. In today's episode, we're expanding on what he learned by revealing how water carries messages from being to being. And at the end, I also share a delightful conversation with a woodland spirit about the nature of time. Wednesday, September 17th, 11:38 a.m. My husband and I are only a few hundred yards into our 2.5-hour hike along the Ice Age Trail at Chippewa Moraine State Recreation Area in Wisconsin. We have come to a beautiful and peaceful spot where a small wooden bridge crosses a narrow passageway of water between two larger parts of a lake. My work is to gather and share stories from the spirit world to help teach about creation and Jesus. And this seems like a perfect spot to stop and share and see what the water and the trees want to share. As always, I get quiet, start with a prayer, and simply wait. This is what comes first. Waters are flowing and moving, always seeking expression. They seek to bring forth new truth to new areas, to expand possibilities. Their messages can be carried upon the wind, and they can be carried through the bodies of those that drink them. When the message of water goes into the body of another being, the message is changed in accordance with that being, because that being also has water in it. And now there is new harmony, new growth, new frequency, new color, new plan, new life. In this way, water is always creating new life, expanding and growing, seeking outside of itself and creating something new through other forms of energy, through other beings. The water, like all elements, is always happy to be heard, to be understood, and to share. Fear not who you are and the messages that you bring. All things carry messages. Not all have ears to hear those messages. This is not of concern. The important thing is always to carry and share the message that comes to you and through you and seeks expression from you. You are one with God, as all are. All the messages come from Him. They all contain goodness and light and love, for they come from Source and they return to Source. Christ is the channel that purifies and cleanses the message, that brings more light to the message and to the channel and to the ears that hear and perceive and receive. There is glory brought to all things in this way, from the Father through the Son to mankind, and from mankind out to others and back to the Father through the Son. Jesus is the way that purifies all things. Run all truths and all light through Him, and He will separate the dross from what is needed. Seek to be happy and to create joy in all you do every day, for this is what nature does. As that message ends, a guardian from this lake appears. He comes up out of the water, a huge male form, very broad and over 20 feet tall. He comes up out to his thighs and is forceful in his speech as he faces me. "What are you doing here?" His clenched hands strike the water. "I am here as a disciple of Christ to simply gather the message and the story that this place has to share. I mean no harm." He comes up to me, his face almost touching me, looking intently at me, to see, I suppose, if what I am saying is true. I love to touch things, a trait which concerns my husband to a large degree when we are out hiking. Having the guardian so close, I just can't resist. I put my hand out gently on the side of his face, and it goes into him a little, like when your hand disrupts the water on a pond. It startles him and he moves back. He's still somewhat grouchy, but apparently he is satisfied that I am not a threat, and so he simply returns into the water. And the water is again calm and peaceful. Another little being comes over my left shoulder. We'll call him a leprechaun, perhaps. He moves quickly. He's thin and lithe, only about 8 inches tall, wearing form-fitting bloomers and stockings. He comes and sits in front of me on the top of the handrail, checking me out as well. He's not a sprite. He's too big to be a sprite, and he's not a fairy. Do you need a name for me? He asks. Well, it does help me identify things, but I suppose not. Come, he says, I will show you many things. He walks a little ways down the top of the handrail and separates the space that is around us, opening it up as if it were a piece of fabric that he moves aside. As I peer through, I can see that the area we are in now was all trees. And it is darker. It doesn't look like the middle of the day. And that's simply because there are so many trees that they block the sun. I see that there are many like him in this space. We are nymphs before they were nymphs. We are Tuathan. Although we are not from there, we are the Tuathan of this area. We lived among the trees when they were here, when there were more of them, before there were people like you. He's somewhat disdainful as he continues. This was many years before people like you came to be. We lived peacefully in this area, as most societies do, until you come along. Why is that, he asks. Why is it that you could not live peacefully like other beings can? Each time he says you or people like you, he speaks as if he has something disgusting in his mouth. I wish I had a good answer for you. The answer I would give, based on my understanding of life at this point, is that there is good and evil, and humans get to choose. But they are given to hubris and to pride and desires for power and the desire to rule over others. And so they make those choices instead of choosing love and helping each other and living in community together. Apparently, it is part of our plight as human beings to be that way. Well, he says, closing up the fabric, I suppose each being has its own challenges and its own space to be in. I will not judge you so harshly. Thank you, I reply. Thank you for showing me and for telling me about your people and your time. I personally desire for humans to have that same experience and to live that way. But I know from my own heart as a human that there is much purifying and cleansing that is necessary for our hearts to be able to live that way. It is generally in our nature as children, but not so much as adults. And so often we have to regain that way of being. You are not like other humans, he says. He looks over at Roger, my husband, who is standing a few feet away. He can't see me. No, I don't think most humans can, I say. But we're all around, he says incredulously. Yes, but we have a veil over our eyes as humans, and we cannot see these things. It is our hearts that must be cleansed and purified. We must look with our hearts and not with our eyes. My little friend considers. So we are in the same place, but not in the same space, and perhaps not in the same time. Perhaps. I don't totally understand all of that and how it works yet, but I do know that trees and humans are not in the same space, even though we are in the same place. Oh yes, the little man continues. Time is, I suspect, different from all of us, for all of us, and our spaces and places are different. As he says that, something comes flying up out of the water and tries to grab him. Instead, I grab him and I turn around and turn my back to whatever it is protecting him. This thing from the water recedes, and my little friend scurries up over my shoulder to take a look at the water. Thank you, he says. That has not happened in quite a long time. As I turn around and set him back down on the handrail, he says, I think it is time for me to return to the trees. It is safer there. And with that, he runs down the handrail and disappears. The Holy Spirit leaves me with this final message. There are many who seek to destroy, just as there are many who seek to create. The darkness and the light exist in all planes and in all places. Be ever aware of the darkness. Don't focus on it, but be aware that it is there. This is wisdom. What messages are you being called to share? Or what messages are you being called to receive? What are your ears tuned to? We were placed here in this human form and at this time and on this earth to start in darkness, but the light of Christ is always there, calling us to seek for it and to follow it. This is the most glorious message, the gospel message of Jesus Christ, which brings peace, true freedom, and eternal salvation to all mankind. Those are the most worthy and the best messages that we can receive and share. Next time, we are going to talk about our desires, where they come from, and how to know which ones to follow.